of people are surprised to find that what they have is called tinnitus because it's often described to them in the media and popular culture as only a ringing, but it certainly can be any sound that is experienced by the person but is not out there in the environment. So buzzing, humming, crickets, and people can get quite creative with all of the sounds that it is, but generally it is a side effect of hearing loss, and other than the case where it causes some bothersome sensation, if the person just does not like the sound of it, then it is benign. So the only problem is, if it's bothersome, let's try to resolve that.
The auditory system consists of three main parts: the outer, middle, and inner ear. The two inner ear systems combine processing from the auditory systems and vestibular systems to send balance and hearing information to the brain. The auditory nerve sends this information from the sensory organs within the inner ear to the brain. It is here, at the level of the cochlea, where the fluid is within the inner ear and creates shearing forces that causes the stereocilia of the hair cells to bend as a result of tectoral membrane movement. Hair cells create neural signals which are received by the auditory nerve and which are processed by the brain and interpreted as sound. How tinnitus and where tinnitus develops is still commonly researched. However, tinnitus is commonly believed to originate from nerve fibers continuing to fire even when damaged hair cells do not send signals in the case of hearing loss with tinnitus.
For people who have hearing loss, and tinnitus does not always come from hearing loss, then having hearing aids can be one of the best possible solutions. The rationale for that being, if the tinnitus is the brain's reaction to the deprivation of sound from the ears, then restoring the signal coming from the ears up to full strength will make the brain feel as if it doesn't need to be so oversensitive, it doesn't have to crank its internal volume up so high that it starts generating this phantom signal. With or without hearing loss, people can try sound therapy. Whatever you find to be pleasant and meaningless can be used as sound therapy, and over time that can help reduce the perception of the tinnitus. If you set that pleasant, meaningless noise, whatever it is, to a level where you can hear that sound, and you can also hear your tinnitus, but there's just some reduction in your tinnitus. That's what we call partial masking. Then, in the long term, that can promote this idea of habituation. If you set this masking noise at this mixing point for hours and days and weeks and months, then eventually the goal is for your innate inborn skill at ignoring this pleasant but meaningless masking noise can eventually transfer over to the tinnitus. Now, for a lot of people, sound therapy might be the only thing that they need. But for some people, their tinnitus is a little bit more resilient. Tinnitus involves other parts of the brain than just the auditory system. The brain's instinct is to try to search for where that sound is. And when it can't do so, it engages the anxiety centers of the brain. So one aspect of trying to treat tinnitus is not just to focus on the sound itself in the auditory system, but to try to work on the anxiety centers of the brain. And there is definitely some research that shows that medications, like antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications, don't strictly make the sound softer. They do sort of help to decouple it from that stress reaction. And that can make it much less bothersome and can make all of the other treatments that we do, including sound therapy, more effective over time. Other things that can help can include cognitive behavioral therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy is short-term and directed towards a specific goal, and it teaches practical techniques for redirecting your attention away from one thing and towards another thing. And so that can be very helpful in achieving that goal of habituation, not paying any attention to the tinnitus, even though you always can seek it out if you want to. I just want people to be aware, consult your audiologist. Don't just believe someone when they say it's just something that you have to get used to, because even if we can't completely get rid of it, we almost certainly can do something to reduce it, and for most people, to reduce it significantly.